My name is Cakra, and I'll start the speech in 3, 2, 1. Fellas, have you ever experienced your house got flooded before? After all, flooding are the most common disaster we experience and encounter in Jakarta, right? Flooding can happen because of rainwater had nowhere to go, so instead of the rainwater going into a pond or lake, they instead got stuck in a drainage system and the water going into people's house instead. And in that moment of flooding, would you rather to immediately move out or stay in there because you've been living in that house for a couple of years? Probably the second ones, right? This motion is for those people who stay and fight, and the government should hear them too. After all, they pay taxes, they using rupee as the currency, they help build the economy, so why shouldn't they be heard? And flooding can also happen because of the government. Well, the other team may say that yes, people can throw trash in the drainage system so it clogged up. Yes, it can true. But the government have money, power, and time to prevent that. The government can invest their money to build the education so people doesn't throw their trash into the drainage system. The government can also use their money to build a better drainage system so it doesn't easily clogged up. And instead of invest in the disaster instead of relocating those who already built their community in the area that are more prone to disaster, besides, how does the government ensure that the people who are relocated can build the community from scratch? How does the government ensure that a working father can work to support his family again? How does the government ensure that student can get the same access to education before the disaster happened? Not only that, how long did you think the survivor of the disaster feel fit in the community they barely know and the place they barely knew nothing about? They knew nothing about. Other than helping a community who are widely known by them and been communicating with them with tens of years, how much do you think it cost them to rebuild their life with nothing on their hand? Probably tens of millions of rupiah, right? So instead the government spending money on a place to relocation, instead they can spend on things like lowering the damage of the disaster, like making a canal, making a place for water to stay, like a pond or a lake, and not to mention the economic potential of the land that they have. The government can focus more on long-term solution, like I said before. Let's look at the example of this case. You guys probably know Pig, right? Or Pantai Indah Kapuk. They're sit near the ocean where if it's rain, often or not, it's probably going to be a flooding. But instead of flooding, they doesn't get flooding. They only get small puddle of water on their drainage system, not a serious flood where people who are living on it need to be evacuated. This is because of what? Because the property management successfully making a good drainage system so it doesn't flood when it's rain. Let's look at the other example where the government are serious about mitigation of disaster like a BKT or Banjir Kanal Timur, where the government made a man-made canal so instead of water going into the people's house, it can be directed into the sea instead. My parents who used to live in near Bekate told me that often or not, if it's rain before being built, they experience a flooding. But after Bekate being built and it can be used as the canal, the case of flooding are getting less and less. And would you look at Bekate right now? On the weekend, in the morning, people can spend their time exercising, jogging, like jogging and run, or etc. etc. And in the evening, the Bekate sidewalk are light with as, as with small vendor who open the shop near Bekate. This means that if the government are serious about mitigation of a disaster, often or not, the impact can be felt in the terms of economics, social, security of the people itself. That's why this house fully support this motion. Other than spending money on relocation, the government can instead using a long-term solution that can be present to people who are living near the area that is prone to the disaster. Thank you.